It is a really nice day today. It's cool here today.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know, but there actually was a bail-in that happened and no one's talking about it. No one's covering it. And I saw 2 people bring it to our attention in the comments of the last video. It was in Lindsay, Oklahoma.
No way. There's been one?
So, town of 2,500. So a small town in Oklahoma. They had a bank collapse, and normally what do? Right? They try and like consolidate the bank into another bank and figure out what to do. Well, there weren't enough buyers of the assets, so the bank collapsed. And they actually did take everything that wasn't insured. Now, this raised a lot of questions because some people could say, well, then that's a healthy bank collapse. But the question I want to ask too is,
Gold Rush Hour 10?
10.
Oh. I haven't seen you since you went to Florida.
Correct.
To the Rick Rule event.
Yes.
So how did that go?
Oh, it was awesome. I mean, it was incredible for a variety of reasons. Not only, of course, seeing some of the best minds in the space and hearing what they had to say about what was going on with the dollar and gold and everything else, but also it was very cozy. And I got a chance to talk to a lot of attendees, a lot of people who watched the show. Actually, a lot of people who said, hey, I love that car video.
Yeah.
That you guys do. Yeah. Which was awesome. And just hearing their thoughts, their opinions, what they're seeing, what they're feeling. Because, you know, sometimes when you're filming, I just said this to Daniela, it's like, you know, you don't always get to engage with people who are on the other side of the screen. You read the comments, but it's different having conversations with people.
So was that your first real experience of actually getting to talk to people that watch the show?
I had some of that at VRIC in January, but this one definitely was, I feel like there were a lot more fans of the show there. Everyone that I talked to was pretty familiar with our work, and yeah, it was definitely a unique experience. It was really exciting. There was someone I spoke to who actually, they were a client of ITM's for, I think they said maybe over 10 years.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, and been watching the channel, and they said that they always learn something new. And that, again, was refreshing to hear because it's like I'm always trying to think of new ways to say things. And I haven't been with ITM that long, but, you know, I think, again, as someone who, even just being here a couple of years, I'm always trying to come up with new ways to say things, phrase things, find the latest and greatest, dig into the research. And so it was great to hear that from someone.
Well, I'll second it. You do a great job.
Thank
You're
you.
always doing it. You're always doing a good job of explaining things. I feel like you're one of the best at it. I think that's a gift, a strong gift of yours.
Well, thank you. And it was also, I also want to say a highlight for me too was being together in person with Daniela too, because we hadn't seen each other in person in, I don't know, maybe a year and a half since and I was explaining to quite a few people too. They said, why don't you guys do stuff together more often? I said, well, we're actually on opposite coasts. So
yeah, like 30, 300 miles apart.
Yeah. So that was a real treat to be together in person and see her too.
What are some of the things you want to talk about today?
The last video we did rapid fire questions, right? Like the most popular questions. There were quite a few follow-up questions, particularly around the reset. I would say was like the biggest bucket of follow-up questions we got from that video. Some of it's tying into current events, some of it more timeless. Quite a few people asked, they were confused on if the reset was a process or an event.
It's both.
Both, right.
Yeah, the actual reset itself is a moment in time, but the process that leads up to it is inflation, hyperinflation, reset, right? So,
correct.
Like the inflation and hyperinflation is not a process per se, right? It occurs by a many series of different events that are going on, namely tons of money printing by the government, people losing confidence in the currency, trying to get it out of their hands as quickly as possible, increasing the velocity of money, and then the erosion of the purchasing power, which happens very rapidly, and to a reset. So the reset is actually a government-sanctioned thing, an event that occurs at a moment in time after a long process of bummer things that happen with the currency.
Totally. And
I think the solution to the problem.
Yeah, and I think that was maybe to some people in the comments said, aren't we in one right now, or when is it going to happen? And it's, again, both, right? We are in the process of a reset, but then there is a market event as well. So yeah, I think that was one distinction people wanted clarity on. Another one too, that's funny because we do see this a lot, but questions around how to actually use your gold and silver after the reset event occurs, right?
Okay.
And I think we talked a lot last time about them closing the exits. And what I mean by that is, we talked about businesses going cashless and a war on cash. We talked about the launch of CBDCs and what that would look like, and essentially making everyone trapped inside of the system.
Yep.
Part of the reason why it's so important to make sure you own your physical gold and silver now. But then there were some questions saying, okay, so if all of this happens and occurs, and we're in this new system and you have your gold and silver, how can you actually use it? That was like a big question I saw.
And this is after a reset has occurred?
Yes. So we could assume that the dollar is worth next to nothing, right? The paper that it's printed on at this point in time.
Well, if we look at what other countries that have gone through it have to do, is they end up using the gold and silver to convert into the paper money as they need it.
Yeah.
So they might barter with, you actually use it to spend. In a lot of cases, they do use it to spend. I know Zimbabwe is a very prominent example of that, where, the kids would go out and kind of pan for gold or dig for gold, trying to get grains of gold in the countryside where they knew where it was, and then be able to use it to actually buy goods and services, or convert it into whatever the currency is, or sometimes it's not even a local currency. Like in Zimbabwe, they were using US dollars if they could get their hands on it, because also it was viewed as a store of value, right? Because the Zimbabwe currency would keep losing purchasing power against the dollar, so the dollar would hold.
That's still happening today too, actually. They're trying to stop everyone from using the dollar in Zimbabwe, and they're still using it because there's no trust in the fiat currency that they've rolled out.
You would basically cash it in, most likely, unless there was sort of a black market for it, or people recognize it as money wherever you were. But most of the time you would just cash it in to change it in for dollars, just like you would today, right? People will sell gold and silver that they've owned and get dollars and then go buy something else with it, whether it's a home remodel or put it in some other asset of some kind. It's the same thing. It's just at a much higher dollar value.
I think a simple way to think about it is, if you look at any of those examples throughout history, whether it's Zimbabwe or Venezuela or wherever it might be, I mean, what would you rather have? The fiat currency or gold or silver? The answer becomes pretty clear, right? And then how you use it, you're going to have a new system, but what you want is a true store of value, and that fiat currency is at that point going to be worth next to nothing. Another question we got too was, people were asking, okay, so I have my gold and silver, what else should I be doing to prepare? Which I think is a great
question for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm definitely passionate about this. I mean, you've said this before, and I think it's interesting. You've said, I hope it never happens, because if it does, a lot of people are going to be hurt, right? Or reset. I hope I'm wrong, even though I believe I'm right. And I agree with that. So for me, obviously, I look at the basic necessities. I think a big one, too, that we're passionate about at ITM is community. Community is huge. Having people that you trust and rely on. You need to have food, water, shelter, defense, communications. And I always laugh when people say, oh, so have you completed prepping then? Are you done? And it's such a fundamental misunderstanding of how prepping works, because once you start, you're never done, right? You're always just working on more redundancies and continuing to grow and expand. But for anyone out there who hasn't started, maybe sometimes it can be daunting. My best advice is just to start, right? And I think about it in increments of time, like regardless of what you're preparing for, whether it's some kind of societal disaster, whether it's a natural disaster, what would you need immediately if you were staying with where you are, or if you're leaving? And I mean immediately as in the first minute, 5 minutes, hour, 24 hours, right? And kind of build out from there. That's how I typically think of it when someone's just getting started and they're kind of overwhelmed. They say, well, I don't have my own water source, or, what do I need? Do I need to be growing all these plants and have my own chickens, this and that? It's like, yes, of course, you can continue to evolve to that point. But if you're just getting started, just start. You know what I mean? That's what I always tell people.
And what do you start with? Food?
Food.
Yeah.
Yeah. Food and water too. How many people don't look at water, and you need water to survive even more than food for that immediate first period of time too,
Yeah, we have like a Berkey water filtration system, so we can just take pool water and just fill that in there because,
That's
you
awesome.
can just take pool water and just filter it out.
Yeah.
But the big thing will be is if it gets bad enough to where you don't want to be in the cities.
Right.
Ugh. Like if there was like an EMP attack or something like that, that's when it could get really gnarly. But
totally. Yeah, there were some other follow-up questions too. One of them being, will there be warnings? Will we know when we need to take things out of the bank? And I think this goes back to that big question we often get around timing things, which it's tough to say, right?
FDIC insurance, I don't know that we can count on it, but there's a lot of thought that the 250 level is what will be considered safe from the bail-ins. Can't guarantee it, don't know for sure.
Well, it's interesting because we also got some comments from people, and someone actually wrote into me and brought this to my attention a couple months ago. I did a video about bail-ins, and someone wrote me a letter and said, hey, I don't know if you know, but there actually was a bail-in that happened and no one's talking about it, no one's covering it. And I saw 2 people bring it to our attention in the comments of the last video. It was in Lindsay, Oklahoma.
No way, there's been one?
So it was above 250K, to your point. It was in Lindsay, Oklahoma, a town of 2,500. So a small town in Oklahoma. They had a bank collapse, and normally what do, right? They try and consolidate the bank into another bank and figure out what to do. Well, there weren't enough buyers of the assets, so the bank collapsed, and they actually did take everything that wasn't insured. Now, this raised a lot of questions because some people could say, well, then that's a healthy bank collapse. But the question I want to ask too is, so why was it then when Silicon Valley Bank, right, went under, that everyone was bailed out completely, no matter how much was in there, right? Over 250K, everyone was bailed out in totality, and they put that as the poster child of bank security, bank safety, trust your bank, trust the system, right? But then a small
probably because 2,500 people had their money in that bank, and they weren't the big Silicon Valley investment bankers and stuff.
Not enough visibility. So this tiny town got decimated, and all of these people there lost everything. And it's so funny because it wasn't even on my radar. Once I started researching it, there were a couple articles about it. It was covered lightly, but it definitely did not get the attention that it deserved. And that was at the end of last year.
And that wasn't actually a bail-in. That was a bank failed. They let it fail, and people's insurance covered them up to 250.
Correct.
Okay.
But interesting.
Yeah.
Because no one talks about that.
And I've always thought that they've always just bailed all the banks out. I didn't know that there's been actually letting some of them fail. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, rightfully so, concerned about that, and of course, more clarity on a reset.
Right, but you better believe that if there's bail-ins, gold's value is going to go up even more.
Oh, 100%.
During bail-in times,
100%.
For sure.
Yeah.
Did you see that? I was watching Daniela's interview with Jim Rickards in the Rick Rule event. Did you watch that one?
Yeah, I did.
Where he said $4,000 an ounce for gold very soon, and well over 10,000 in the near future.
Yes. Yeah. And that was a popular sentiment too. I mean, I feel like 4,000 near term. I went out and asked a bunch of people on the conference room floor, and that was kind of a popular number. But a lot of the speakers at the event were saying even much higher was what they were thinking too in the near term.
Well, fundamental value of gold is more than 13,000, so it's just been suppressed to not reach that level.
Yeah.
So it's only a matter of time before it does.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe just for a vibe switch, what's something that you think people would be surprised about ITM culture, maybe that they wouldn't know?
I think the team family thing is pretty big. We intentionally are small. We don't just hire anybody to come work with us. They got to be the right fit, and we intentionally keep it small. A lot of the people have been with us for 20 years.
Yeah.
And with no, intention of leaving or going anywhere, right? That we just have this. We've been very fortunate to have people be a part of the organization for a long time. Good people. I would say, as far as the culture is concerned, I think that's the coolest thing.
Yeah. I would say that mine is probably how much fun we have. Obviously, we talk, I mean, and we've talked about this before, a lot of heavy subjects, right? Heavy subject matter. And everyone is really, I would say, lighthearted, funny, fun. Like, there's a lot of joking around. There's a lot of, I don't know, it's just a lot of fun. Like, it's a fun atmosphere. Even though we're dealing with very serious topics, everyone who works there, you know, can really joke around. Like, I appreciate that because I feel like, again, it helps with that levity and a balance to what we're doing and talking about versus like the people you surround yourself with just day to day.
Everybody gets along.
Yeah, totally.
It's cool.
It is cool.
I'm proud of it. It's my favorite part.
I love that.
So, should we get some coffee?
Yes, definitely. Let's get some coffee.